Hello again, everybody. This is John and Glenn with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today we're going to review the Athletic Edge Nutrition Creatine-RT. It's a creatine product, obviously, with just going by the name. Jeff, our guy behind the camera, always tells us we have to do a better job of telling you what kind of supplements we're reviewing, so I want to make sure we're conscious of that. So, all right, Glenn, without further ado, why don't you tell us about the creatine in here? I see it's the trademarked Creapure. Of what significance is that?
Yeah, it's what they call German-grade creatine. It's made in Strasbourg, Germany. It's been found to be, I think, 99% pure creatine, some of the purest creatine in the world. There's no fillers added to it. So that is a selling point to creatine, is that or to this Creapure creatine, it's a very pure creatine.
And what form of creatine is it?
Creatine monohydrate. Okay. And again, if you watch our videos in the past, we like creatine monohydrate. It's the most studied version of creatine. All research done on it uses creatine monohydrate. So starting off with the creatine monohydrate inside the product, that's good. That's what we like. Why you would take creatine? Creatine recycles ATP. It lends a phosphate group to something called ADP, which naturally circulates in the body. While you're exercising, your body breaks ATP apart into ADP. Creatine comes in with a phosphate group. You've got ATP again. ATP is your cell's natural energy sources. Very useful in people for short bursts of energy. Not something you would get much use out of for long endurance because it uses the glycolytic.
Yeah, it's your anaerobic pathways, you know, be it your phosphagen system or your glycolytic, and some of the distance runners and stuff too. Actually, we'll take it in training because they're doing sprint workouts to improve their times when they're doing their strength training. But when they get close to a race, they tend to cut it back because the extra weight can actually slow them down, and it doesn't really help anaerobic pathways. So if you're running those further distances or doing some kind of event that's purely aerobic, then that extra body weight can kind of slow you down a little bit. If you're doing something where you're training across energy systems, you know, we'd say still use it because it's still going to be of benefit. So
yeah, just going into the ingredients here, Creatine-RT complex, 5,450 milligrams. Again, that's per one scoop. Let's see, it says one serving for 5 days out of the week and then 2 days off. That's their recommendation.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I think you should take creatine every day.
Creatine is something that needs to stay saturated in the system. You need to constantly, take it to put it back into the body because your body will use up what it's taking.
Yeah, you have to saturate the muscles, like you said. So I wouldn't run the risk of, if you miss a day and you're on creatine, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can make up for the next day. But going 5 on 2 off, I've not seen any research.
Yeah, to habitually do that. Like if you miss a day once a month or something like that, that's okay. But only 20 days out of the month, may not be enough to fully saturate or get a full use out of it.
Yeah, and typically the dose is about 5 grams for the average individual. Now that's going to vary a little bit by body weight. So if you're on the lighter end, I guess under 150 pounds, you could probably get by with 3 grams. If you're a little heavier, you might want to go a little more than 5 grams. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb in terms of dosing with creatine monohydrate. Now, what is the other ingredient?
Russian Tarragon extract.
Okay.
I believe that's where the RT comes from.
Yeah, and that's kind of the basis of the product, is that there's some thoughts that it has some anti-hyperglycemic activity. So typically when people take creatine, specifically creatine monohydrate, you tend to take it with simple carbs, and some people take it with protein as well, like maybe in a post-workout shake. And we say post-workout because people tend to take it that way because you're going to take those simple carbs at that time, get the insulin spike. It's going to help deliver the creatine into your cells, along with the carbohydrates and protein. Creatine is not something you take and then, you feel it right away. It's not like caffeine. It doesn't affect your nervous system like that. It's something that has to build up in your system. So you don't want to, so it doesn't really matter what time of day you take it. It's just kind of the thought is if you take it post-workout, especially when you're taking with carbs, you're going to get a little bit better absorption because your insulin sensitivity is going to be greater. Now, that's not to say you can't take it other times of the day. You can. But just technically speaking, that's a really good time to do it. And the thought of the Russian Tarragon is that for those people who maybe want to keep their carbohydrates lower, they don't want to take in all those calories to get the insulin spike, they added this because the thought is, that'll increase the absorption of it because it's going to increase the delivery. It's basically acting as a delivery system because of this anti-hyperglycemic activity. They found some research. One of it was actually on diabetic and non-diabetic animals. In non-diabetic animals, it didn't significantly affect the actual mechanism for action that they found for how the actual extract should work.
Yeah, it seemed to have more effect in diabetic animals than in non-diabetics, and in most cases we're going to assume that you're going to be a non-diabetic with taking this product. So with the creatine.
Well, then they did another study where this one actually done in humans, and this one was to check on glucose tolerance in response to taking it with dextrose, a simple carb versus placebo, and it was found to be statistically insignificant as far as the effects in increasing the increasing insulin sensitivity in this case to drive the dextrose into cells. So it seemed to have a slightly lower insulin response, but again, it was not statistically significant in lowering of blood glucose, so relative to dextrose load. So the other study we found was on the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, but it really, they didn't really give a lot of details. There seems like there might be some competing interest with the study. We really don't know what the placebo was that was used. And on the bottle, they actually say that it's actually, what did they say on it?
Creatine with 70 grams of carbs.
Yeah, it was actually 10% better, or 20% better is what they're saying, than creatine plus carbs. We couldn't find what that was based on, because in this particular study where it did seem to show a little bit of a reduction in basically what they found is if you took it with 5 grams of creatine, if you were 180 pounds, basically it was 60 milligrams per kilogram or 27.3 kilograms of body weight per pound. They were finding at 60, 90, and 120 minutes after taking it that plasma creatine levels, in other words, the amount of creatine in the blood was lowered. The idea being that it was driven into cells. Problem is that wasn't compared directly to taking it with carbohydrates.
Yeah, a better study would have said, okay, we've got one group that has creatine with carbohydrates, maybe another group with creatine and protein, and then another group with creatine and the Russian Tarragon. And in here, they didn't do that. So, and they only used 11 males, very small.
Yeah, it's a small sample. We'd like to see some more human studies on this to confirm, if this effect is possible. So we're not saying 100% no, it has no effect. We would just like to see some more human studies before we say, yeah, don't, take this in place of carbs, because, in light of all this, we'd still probably say, even if you're on like a hypocaloric diet and trying to keep your carbs lower, is it something as little as, maybe 15 grams of sugar, that mild of an insulin spike may turn out to be more effective. We don't know because that research is not available. So, but at this point, the burden of proof is on Russian Tarragon to prove that it's effective, as opposed to carbs plus creatine to prove it's effective, because we know it's effective.
We know that, yeah.
To this point. So that's what we'd like to see. So we like the fact that there's creatine monohydrate in here. It's kind of a small container, so cost per serving wise, it's something you got to weigh out. I mean, if that, what we told you in terms of the research is enough for you to buy it, then by all means, give it a shot. It may turn out to be really effective in place of the extra carbohydrates. So,
yeah, I mean, it could be a nice option for someone looking to keep those carbs away.
Yeah.
We're a little leery of the 20 days on.
Yeah, that's just odd.
5 days on, 2 days off.
Sometimes I think it's done to say ours is different because of this or that. I don't know why. It's not based on anything that we could find that makes any sense. So. So that part would be a little leery of. So, again, if that's your criteria, if that works for you, that's fine. We would like to see more human research on that particular ingredient. We love creatine, specifically creatine monohydrate. We think it's the one that's been researched the most, and it's been demonstrated to be effective. So, yeah. So, if you guys can check us out, we're at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition. Also, we really appreciate you guys watching our videos. If you can rate us, there's a little thumbs up, thumbs down at the end of the video. We prefer if it's a thumbs up, but only if you really like it. We don't need fake likes. That helps us out. Also, you can subscribe to our channel. You'll get updates about new videos that we put out. And also, if you comment, we're good about answering comments. So please feel free to post comments. We're happy to answer them. And again, we really do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.
Thank you.